Hello.
Hello. Let me clear this bit. How are you?
I'm good. It has been rainy here, which never happens at this time of the year. So everyone's like in shock. It's March. It's a whole month early. There should be no rain. It's unheard of. It's not even a lot of rain, but my mom got my car stuck in the mud yesterday. You know.
Really? Your car stuck in the mud?
Yeah. The first
Oh.
time she's here for 2 weeks. The first time I asked her to go and pick up the kid, she calls me like 5 minutes later. She's like, "Where the hell did you send me? Like I'm stuck on some dirt road with the trees blocking my." I was like, "Where did you go?" It was like two paved roads and a left down a slightly dirt bump road. I was like, "Don't take any back roads." Think she listened? No, she's like, "I'm just gonna follow Google Maps," which does not work the same way in Costa Rica. Anyway.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, but she had already got, it all got worked out. But the kids, I was picking two other kids up from school. So I had four kids that were waiting on me, plus my daughter, and I spent like the whole afternoon running around. Never a dull moment.
No, never, never.
But you have said a couple times to me, I've been struggling. So I want to
Yeah.
take
No,
this
it's
on.
just,
I know the change of the schedule, and you said losing your morning block
yeah,
really messed with you. Like I remember that. So, but let's first, before we go into, well, yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just had a bit of a struggle. I think I just had a bit of okay, I'm doing a lot and I can't find the time to do everything. And I just kind of hit a bit of a wall.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just had a lot going on. And then, yeah, but I made a bit of a change. Tried to think differently. I tried to be like, so what was happening was I didn't have that morning time. So it meant that I was trying to do stuff in the evening, which meant that I was staying late up, going to bed late. And that just took its toll and wiped me out. So I am going to bed early. That's my new decision, and getting up earlier so that I sort of can gain a little time and just be, and it only done today and yesterday, but already it kind of just made me feel like, okay, I've got a lot done in the morning. I don't have to be worried. But also my kids just got busy. My husband got busy. Everyone got busy. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of time left. And of course, I had clients, the calls that were also coming in, which I was good with. That was not a problem, but it took some time. And because my day job was thinking to finish, and it's moved longer, they also asked me to do another 1 or 2 hours. And so it's just kind of like everything changed and I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
So I've tried to take it. I tried to swap a few things around because then I was kind of crashing on Mondays with doing so much. And then that was wiping me out for the rest of the week. So I've tried to do a few changes of things.
Okay. So tell me what you've changed already. So
I changed my schedule. I'm trying to go to bed earlier so I can get up a bit earlier and have a bit of focus time in the morning again.
Yeah.
I swapped a few of my kids' classes around so that I'm not getting everything on one day. Yeah, they're the two major things. And a mental change, just like, okay, this is feasible. I can do this. I just need to think of it differently. So I think I was also pushing against it a bit mentally.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you went through a process, but you kind of coached yourself through it. Right? Like when I hear about it, I mean, you already were like, okay, this is the main problem. You identified where the cause of a lot of it was coming from. You're like, hey, there was so much change happening. I wasn't ready for the change. Let's see what I can do, right? To shift. Mm-hmm. So you changed your own schedule and you swapped the kids' schedules.
Yeah. So I think a big thing was just like, I was going through a mental thing that I was going to end up with no work and like a lot of time. And realistically, what happened, I ended up with no time and a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it was just, but it was really good when I reached out and you were like, are you just doing the most important things? Like that's, instead of trying to do all of it. So also it's like, it's tax year. So I still haven't handed in my tax. I'm almost to like get that last bit. And and I think I think also I feel a bit of pressure from my husband because it's been some time now, and I feel
Yeah.
like just his comments just end up being a bit more like, oh, what you're doing is not, so he's like, you've really got to focus on learning Dutch, and that should be your priority. And maybe you just put your work thing aside for a few months. And I know, like, no, I can't. All the work I've done, this is leading to something. So I know, but I just,
Yeah.
I feel like his support is run thin a little bit.
Yep.
So.
Have you guys talked about that ever? Have you talked about expectations and timelines? And because that just having that conversation, this is what we call a COE, clarification of expectations, right? Like you can sit down and just share, like maybe he has no idea what your goals are. I don't know to what extent you guys share with each other, right? Like what you want to achieve by when, but also the steps that you're taking up until there, how far you are. And just sit down and be like, hey, given my expectations and where I am, how does that match up with what you have been thinking? I'd love to know how you see things, even just with what your goal is, because just maybe exactly that he would expect 6 months into fully dedicating yourself to it, that things would be moving a little faster. It could even be that you're on the same level with that, like, yes, okay, and setting milestones as to when are you going to change something together to make sure that things, right? It's better to talk about it than to have them build up for a really, really long time. Those unexpressed expectations.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've talked
that could help right there, right? Yeah, just for the support aspect.
Yeah, no, that's great, because we have talked about it in some aspects, but maybe not in details. And of course, I think my husband doesn't really, he always he has that vision of like, you've got time, you do this because you've got time, like, because I don't have a 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
But I don't have any extra time, and I think he sometimes misses that. Like,
well, that's exactly something to add. Be like, hey, just so you know, these are about the hours that I would have left over. And I noticed that I noticed that I'm starting to take on more things, and I'd like to redefine some boundaries for myself, right? It's not even like, oh, I'm doing too much or too little. Like, hey, I'd just like to make sure that I'm keeping also everything in balance for myself, so that I can keep making progress in this business. The consistency. Yeah, but like just sitting down having the conversation, like, hey, what do you expect? What do I expect? And maybe he'll be like, oh, I expected you to be further faster. You're like, hey, me too. Look at that. Right? Even that it's not. So sometimes men can be like afraid if they bring these things up, especially if it's a sensitive topic for us, which sometimes having our business and not having it progress as fast as we'd like it to is a little sensitive. Like, I'm working on it already. Right? But
I really feel like I work on it a lot now since working with you. Whereas before it was a pop in and out. I wanted to make it serious, but it wasn't. Your drink looks really good there.
It's a hibiscus lemonade.
Oh, very nice.
And I just added like a whole bunch of my water to it because it's like really, really sweet.
It's waiting for you to say gin.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's my empty gin
glass. Just added a whole bunch of gin to it.
Actually, the funny thing is having a beer here is cheaper than the lemonade.
Oh, is it?
So, but I'm like, no, just have a lemonade. It's so hot out. Anyway, that's why people drink beer from 9 o'clock in the morning here, because it's cheaper than water. That's a whole nother story about culture. Anyways, so yes, right. Just like sitting down and having to talk about that also for yourself. And you could, because maybe he doesn't understand also, like, if is he entrepreneurial in any way?
No, he works he works a great job and does very good on it, and he sort of really, like, I've said to him, why don't you do something for yourself? But he's like, no, I don't want that stress.
Yeah, but it's not for everyone, right? Like it is exactly that. Like it's 20 different hats at the same time. Right? And that's why I'm glad to hear that it was supportive to ask the question, right? Like, are you doing the thing that has, the biggest impact in the business right now, or has the highest priority for moving forward? Because that one helps me every time. And like, even in my whole day, it doesn't even have to be a business thing. I'm like, am I doing something that's really important? I'll catch myself in the middle of laundry and I'm like, okay, no, it could wait. Right.
Well, yeah, that was also, it's like my house had fallen down a little bit around me, and like I had 5 loads of laundry that I got through last weekend that I was just like, I need to get this out of the
Yep.
way. It just, yeah, I think it just toppled a little bit.
But also,
But
you know,
yes,
your kids are the age where they can start helping. But that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
I
they
started
do.
at least helping mine, like I'll have them sort, right, into piles of
Yeah.
whose clothes it is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, they
Even
often
though
do the socks.
another way to do it is net time. I don't know if you've heard the concept of net time.
Mm-mm.
So I used to put on my headphones and call a friend or listen to an audiobook while I was doing laundry. Because then I would feel like, I'm getting that 20 minutes of listening to this audiobook or this podcast or whatever in, or reaching out to call a friend while I was also handling the household things. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
together. So I look for things that are net time. And usually that passive listening, they've shown even holding like Zoom meetings while walking can help you absorb more of the information. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
doing this activity, you can put yourself into quite a state of active learning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Okay.
that, right? So like looking for different ways to combine it so that it's not that I'm letting everything go or finding a fixed moment of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like one of my other clients, we just took her through a whole evening ritual of all these things that were so hard for her to put into place together, but we made it one like package of 10 minutes. And it was like 5 different activities, bam, 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 right in a row, just like that one set of 10 minutes. And that was it. And when she realized it was
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes to do all these different things that she had on her list and flying around, even 10 minutes of cleaning a day, right?
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes of conversations, right? It doesn't have to be like
Yeah.
the hugest amount of them, but also when you sent me that list, right?
Yeah.
So let's first do a couple wins, and then I want to get into where you're at with all these people, because that's kind of why I had wanted to have the input for you last week, right? So that they weren't kind of left hanging,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because some of them are still waiting and you haven't done anything with them, right? So what is a logical next step with those people?
Yeah. So I'd say my biggest win is my own mental health, my own mental like vision of like just changing that and getting through
Yep.
that time.
Absolutely do give yourself credit for that, right?
Yeah, I do, because if you would call, if like we'd had this meeting on Wednesday, I probably would have been like, I've had enough, I don't think I can do this. So yes, I got through that at the end.
And you can
So
always say, hey, I'm having a real struggle. Can we jump on a call for like 5 minutes?
yeah, what is your work times? Because I often because we're off schedule, I often kind of a bit nervous that I don't want to disturb you and when you're not at work.
Everything is on silent because people message me from all sorts of different time zones.
Yeah, I can
I've got that.
imagine. Mine is the same, because as soon as now it's like the US goes online for me
Well,
when I'm
my
in job.
assistant is in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
My coach and all my accountability buddies are in Australia. I've got you in the Netherlands, people in the States in like 2 different time zones, right? So everyone messages me at different times of the day. Plus, some people are up at night. So you don't
Yeah.
need to worry. My WhatsApp, everything is silent.
Okay,
Like when
good.
I'm at
Because I
sleep,
do.
my phone goes on full do not disturb. It doesn't even ring if people call me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
So you never have to worry about that. And I'll answer as soon as I can. But I'd rather you not get stuck, right? It seems like to be fair, you
Frank.
really seem like you got yourself unstuck in an amazing way. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, right? Like you're already getting support on a consistent basis, right? You worked your way through it both practically and mentally. I just want you to know that if should this happen in the future while we're working together, right? Feel free to just be like, hey, can we just get a call? I need to, right? You need to like verbal diarrhea it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So just let it all out. And oftentimes just the act of speaking out loud will help us work through our own mental process.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good.
Because I like you basically like talking through the whole thing that you figured it out yourself. There was no actual
Yeah,
question,
but
right?
I am a bit of a hold back person. I do
Yep.
often like, oh, next time or later, I am
Yep.
that way.
But just
So,
rather than just think like, what is the cost? How much energy is it costing you to sit with this for days? I don't know how long it took you to
yeah.
work through it. How long did it take you to work through it?
Oh, days.
Yeah. So instead of sitting with it for days, if we could work through it in like 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
how much energy and time and right, this is exactly my purpose as your coach, right? That confidence, that clarity, the focus, so that you're so it's making your life easier, right?
Yeah.
And I would rather that you, instead of being stuck for days, that we jump on a call for 15 minutes. I got the 15 minutes for you, right? Like it's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so, and I know, and it's a good practice in tuning into when you need the support, because this is important as you're like, if you're thinking this is where your business is, you're going to grow. You need to know and start recognizing those signs for yourself. When am I reaching a limit? When do I need some extra support? And that could be, right, that you decide to get an assistant on board, or to delegate something with social media, or whatever it is, right? But it's that practice of learning to say like, maybe this is a moment where I could use some extra support. Who do I know that could jump on? And it could be like you have another friend who's a Montessori teacher, or you make other coaches in the same network, or that you're referring people to each other. It could be any of these things. But that, start training yourself in the recognition, and then who can I talk to about it? And maybe right now that's me, but as you grow and you've got a bigger network and things, like I said, other people that could support in different ways.
Okay. Good tip. Good advice.
We are not solitary animals. We die off very fast if we are not in a herd. Just remember that. Like, we're not like, even caveman days, like the lone caveman did not survive for long. So, we're still like, think of the last 100 years or something have been like kind of pushing into us the need to be independent and solve everything on your own. But in nature, we're still herd creatures.
Very much. Yeah, I'm there straight away to help somebody else completely. Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely. Very woman energy, right? The female feminine energy. But it's a skill to learn to receive as well. And just remember how good you feel when you can help. You're literally giving that gift to someone else. Right? But they could actually genuinely be happy, like, oh, finally, I know what I can help with. Because a lot of people want to help, but they just don't know how until we figure out how to ask for it. The example of me, like when I broke my foot and had 6 weeks, there were so many people who said, let me know how I can help, let me know how I can help, but they didn't know how to help. I had to really be specific. I would like you to cook a meal, an evening meal for my family. Like, I would like you to do some grocery shopping. Could you buy this, this, and this? I would like you to pick the kids up from school, right? Like all of those things, like unless I asked for that support, they wouldn't know what to do, and they would, bring some more flowers to the house. And how much is, and how much is that going to help you? So it's well intentioned, and they'll feel better because they give something. So might as well make it worth their while to give something. So just it feels good. This is why we coach as well, right? We feel good helping other people. So that can make it easier to ask for the help. So lesson is, next time, instead of sitting for days, what will you do?
Reach out.
Yep.
Send a message.
Yep. Cool. So that was your own mental health. That is a big win, right? And that question. So, right, am I doing what is the most important thing, and who can support me where I am right now, right?
Yeah, and also like, if you can't do it all, do the most important things. Like just that sort of like, not just the most important things, but it's okay to step back on some other things for a period of time until you get yourself back straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've done the same thing. I have just not been generating as much content posts. I have a daughter who's on oral antibiotics. I'm alone with the kids for 3 weeks. I've got sick baby at home with me, like nonstop Klingon, and I'm like, yep, can't do everything right now. The priority was me getting this interview series out. Right? So like exactly that, like can't do it all, doing the most important things. And some things can wait. So what is your most important thing right now?
Keeping my contacts going and preparing myself for some of my last. I think everybody's had their second, so I'm coming into the last. We had a few people had family things, so everything got a bit time. But on Friday, I come into my last one, so they're my priority. And
all right, let's pull that up.
Then my top priority.
Yeah, because this is the number 3. This is your sales call, right?
Yeah.
Let me just pull up I have to log into WhatsApp on my computer here.
I might be up here.
Or your PDF that you sent me. So tell me how many you have going on, and what is your plan right now?
What do you mean? How many I have going on? I've got the 3 pro bonos. They all need their last one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I actually reached out, started some more conversations. I went back in after doing this. I was like, right, okay, I haven't spoken to that one for a while. This one, let's check in what everybody's doing. So that was a good, like, okay, see where everybody is. And that was nice. I got a few more replies. Like I said to you, some people just kind of messaged, wanted to do, maybe had 1 or 2 and then just disappeared. So
Did you check in with them?
yeah, I checked in again. Some people are just quiet. I had one person say to me, I'm really sorry, after our last message, I got admitted into hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And then what you do with that one, right, is a note, right, that your next action, this is the next column that comes up, right? Like if you have in your overall leads tracking, I think I shared the format for the leads tracking with you. You have like a next action. You can see where they are, and the next action, usually what I'll do for people who are like in that spot, whether it's a financial objection or a time objection or exactly this, like a health thing that's going on, I'll put a note to check on them depending on, right, like how serious, like she'll be like, oh, I'm out of hospital week, like check in her in 2 weeks and see how she's doing, or check in a month from now and just see how the health is going. Like, hey, I thought of you, and I know the last time we had contact you weren't feeling so great. How are things going now? Right, just that we're not, because when I first started out, I let so many of these leads go. Oh, they're sick, they must not be interested. No, people just forget.
Yeah,
people have lives.
There was an interesting one with another one. She like in our chat history, like she reached out for something else before, or I reached out to her and then she kind of didn't really answer. I reached out again, something she didn't really answer. Then she was one of the later ones and she asked about the free coaching. And then when I said, it was later, so I said to her, oh, I'm really sorry, but they're already, I've taken the places already up, but I'll keep, I'll drop you a line if another one comes up. And is there anything I can help you with right now? And just try to start a conversation.
Yeah, but see, that's already
somewhere
too
along
many
those
options.
lines.
That's too many options.
No, yeah, I know. Somewhere along those lines, I think it was in a conversation.
Yeah.
But then she kind of didn't get back to me.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And then I sort of messaged again, and then she said, oh, I'm actually okay right now. So it was just nice to see, like, oh, there are some people that are just in, out, shake it all about, but still somewhere lurking around and still watching, still commenting, but maybe it's just not right now for them.
Yeah, exactly. And in that sort of a situation, you say something along the lines like, great, I'm so happy you managed to solve it. Right? Know that should you hit another hard point or another challenge, like, I'm here. And I would still put in a note to check in 1 or 2 months and see how they're doing, because something was not working to the point where they were putting their hand up for free help.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's just really interesting to start to see those.
It's when insomniacs are up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they buy that sleep course in the pain of the moment. If it takes them too many clicks to get to the buy button, they will just give up on it. And the next day they don't feel the pain as much, and so they move on. Right. So it's really that you need to, it is exactly that why we do the follow-up and why we're staying top of mind, right, with the consistency. It's because we never know when that moment's going to be. But don't write her off.
No, I didn't. But it was more of like, oh, this is really interesting. This is what you've talked about, of people that are sort of just lurking in the background. They keep putting their hand up for those things. They keep there's some pain that they have, but they're not.
But these are actually really beautiful clients to have, by the way, because if you notice, the ability to solve things themselves, right, is what you want in clients, that they're going to go away and do something about it. Right. So that those actually could be a sign of a very ideal client. They take action to solve things, right? Like if it took too long, it wasn't working out, they figured it out some other way. Could be.
Yeah.
Could also be because I had this exact same thing 6 months later after having a call where a woman said, no, your 3 sessions for $297 are too expensive. She signed up for 3 months, $2,000 track with me. 6 months later, because she was in exactly the same place, I pointed this out because I had notes from the first session, exactly the same place, exactly the same pain, 6 months of her life dealing with it further. And then all of a sudden she was ready to do something. And I didn't need to do any convincing or pushing. I had just been top of mind and reached out to her, and it happened to be a moment where she was in a lot of pain again. And I said, well, let's have a talk, see what I can do. Right. And so that was like, it's so funny because I had kind of written her off. I was like, someone who can't spend 300 on 3 sessions. I'm not sure if this is my ideal client. It wasn't a can't, I won't right now because the whole family is moving to Dubai. Right. So that it was just in that moment, money was all over the place. And a few months later, they were settled in Dubai, making a very, great salaries. And there was money to pay for the coaching.
Yeah.
So good with these, right? Like, so what I would say is,
I didn't really, afterwards when I was like filling it out, I was like, oh, actually, I wonder what process means. I'm just going to write what I think, like how I want to express it. But I wouldn't mind if you had any tips on what you see as process, where they are in the process. In that you told me to write their name, if I thought they were different, and just in their process. So I just kind of wanted to give myself some notes as well there. And then I thought, okay, I'll ask you that. It's not a biggie.
No, they're where they are in your process.
Oh, okay.
You have a value ladder, right? Like of where you're leading people through with your content, from consuming free to having a short call to having like maybe the pro bono to your program, right? And at what point are they? Are they, hey, I put my hand up, but I haven't booked my call? Are they booked in for the first of 3 calls? Are they going to have 1 call? Because the person who was like, when you filled your 3 spots, one of the options I said was, hey, you could waitlist them, but you could also just say like, hey, I'd love to still support you in a strategy call to see if we can map out, right, in just 1 session, what your challenges, where you want to go, what those gaps are. So it's again, that strategy call is you offer then 1 instead of the 3. You're still offering to help them. And that's in essence a sales call, right, in one go. Right. So you don't have those 3 contact moments with it, right? But you still would offer her, hey, I want to help you. Not with 3 coaching sessions, but with 1, which is still valuable. Right. So for you, it's less of a commitment, but you're still maintaining this contact. And with all your questions, you had kind of seen if they, to a certain extent, right, if they're your ideal client or not. So that was where they're at in the process is like, 3 calls, 1 call offered, but haven't booked, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because I had someone like this for the last one. She put her hand up. It was a week. I said like, hey, are you gonna, haven't seen a call come in. Yeah, I'll book in. A week later, I said, look, the spots have been filled. Because I don't want someone who's going to just sit around and wait for weeks to book a call. If you can't book a free call, how committed are you? How big is the pain? And I said, but I'm happy to support you in this 1 session. Exactly that. Because some people also need that wake up call. It's not going to just be like infinitely available, this free offer. Some people need to think like, oh, I missed out. I could have acted a little bit quicker to solve my problem.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's what happens with one of the people. They missed out on something a long time back, and when I put this up, they were the first ones to jump in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see it, right? You see it.
Yeah. And then actually, she's great. She's the one that says like, yeah, she's great. She's an action taker. She's really listening. Yeah, she's wonderful. Like I would be very happy to work with her. And I feel like
exactly this, right? So this is what you want. Maybe it sounds bad, but we're training people. When we put up messages and we put in like calls to action in, or we're giving a limited number of things, we're helping them to be able to take action. Because that's the same thing, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what you're supporting, if they're not taking the action in their own life, you can coach to your blue in the face, you can give them all the resources, but if they're not taking action in their own life, they're not going to see the progress they want to. So this is a way of like getting them used to taking action. Like if you're saying, yes, I want to do something, but then you don't take the actions for weeks, for months, for years, how can you expect to see progress? So it's part of the process, right? So great that you have that clear example, right, of this one person who missed out, who then was first in line the next time.
Yeah.
Then that's a hot lead for you right there. You should be on a call with her.
Yeah. Well, she's in the pro bono.
Okay. So now you're going to go into these 3 calls, right?
Yeah.
Did you do your sales reflection forms for these? Oh wait, you haven't done
for
that.
these ones?
No,
I haven't done
the
that.
third one. No, it's the third call. Sorry, it's the third call.
So there was one who I did that. I offered them a one-time call, and but it was very disjointed. But I've reached out and chatted with her again, and she's like she said she'll book in for another one this week. Yeah, this week she said she'll book in. So I will follow up with her again and just get her, see if she'll do.
And you have the sales call process, right?
Yes, I have the process.
Okay, the framework.
And I printed out 10 forms to be on my desk in my file with it because, so I was just also trying to get a bit like those little things, just, okay, fill that up and that's done.
Yeah, and I sent you the PDF, I'm pretty sure of it, right? Like it's
of the sales call reflection form or the...
No, the sales call structure, because that's the structure that you're going into, right? Like each of your...
it's the star,
Yeah, the star.
Yeah, I have that here in big.
Yeah, because that's okay. I'm gonna just go ahead and then share my screen with you. Right, this.
Yes.
And so this is kind of what on this last call, look here. This is what your 3 calls are: challenge, the quest, and the openings and onward, right? So this is call 1, this is call 2, and this is call 3. And every time you connect with them, right, you say, just like we do, right? Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Right? How are things going today? And we should chat, right, about like the weather or like how much sleep you got, or right? It's just the connection. Then in call 1, you handled the biggest challenge that they're going through. Right. And if it's good, you've been taking notes, so you have that. Then the next call, where do they want to go from where they are now, right? That future pacing. So then you basically have you're here now and you're struggling with this and you want to go here. And then in this third call, you're going to tie them all together from your point of expertise with these are your openings or your gaps, your potholes that are along the way that we need to fill in so that you can move forward. So in that this is this third call that you're coming up, you're going to tie it all together, right? So you're going to be like, hey, this is what we did in call 1. This is what we did in call 2. And what we're doing today is, right? So you'll check in with them like, hey, does this sound about right? You always want to check in with them as much as possible, double check that we're not making any assumptions or we didn't write any notes wrong, right? Just to allow them to confirm, hey, and then, so what I see that some of the openings are, and here's where you insert, this is how I can help you, this is how I can help you, this is how I can help you, right? With your planning, with your, right, the different resources that you have, right? So they've lack of resources, they've lack of structure or how to, or practice or planning, right? All of your, basically your unique business system, right? Like all, and all those things that are within there, anything that you can add value to, that you see like, hey, these are areas that they could improve given what their challenge is and where they want to go. Then you identify those. You're like, you'll check in with them if this is, how does that sound? If they were to be able to take care of all those things, how would it be? Right? Get them to tie into the emotional part of it. Right? How would it feel if you could take care of all of those things? So you could get to, your quest. Oh man, that would be great. How would it feel? It'd feel amazing. I'd just feel so relaxed and happy. I could enjoy more with my kids. Right? Wouldn't feel like that nagging mom, like torturing them with schoolwork. I'd feel more confident and know what the hell I was doing. Right?
Yeah.
Here. Right? And here you can ask, well, how long do you think that's going to take to get you from here to here? And I'll be like, I don't know, like a year. Well, what if we could do it in 3 months? How would that be? Right, you're offering them a 3-month program where you can get them through all these steps. Right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's exactly, that's exactly what I do. So question is now, like, I've been talking a lot, like, where do we go from here? And they'll be like, what do you mean? And it'll be a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure. What do you mean by this? And like, well, this is where you're at. This is where you want to go. These are areas that, for improvement. These are all areas that I have experienced, like, supporting other people with. And I think these 3 areas, you can even say these 3 areas because you want to give them value, right? Like, hey, to help create value for you, right? This is the first thing you're going to work on. This is the second thing you're going to work, third thing you're going to work on. They're going to get the what, but they don't get the how. Right? The same as when I tell you, hey, the first thing you need to do is really nail down your avatar, get your messaging, right? And get your marketing schedule down, right? Like those, for example, those are the first things you need to do. It doesn't tell you how you're going to do it. Okay, great. That I have a message and I have a niche, or your pricing, right? Your value letter. Like those things are what you need to start moving. Great. Awesome. Those are very valuable tips. This is the order I have to do them in, but wait, how do I do it again?
Yeah.
Right. So then, okay, great. I need, and you name 3 of those top things that you do, like the planning, the organization, the understanding of your child's developmental phases, right? Like these are the main things I think that would really be supportive on you to work on right now. And they'll be like, yeah. Okay. Oh, and these are, this is exactly the sort of thing I help you with. So, okay, where do we go from here?
And
so this is, I'm just running you through this because you're going to have this call 3 times, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I get that. But I feel like money is always the big one. Yeah.
Okay.
It was
so that, it should have come up already here in your first call.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot of them did, but I know from myself it was also the fact with us, like we talked. It was only because my husband said no, do it, and I really wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
and he was like supportive of it.
Well, you can bring that. Then this is the thing, right? If you haven't gotten the objections already, you should. Like, hey, how you can just ask out of curiosity, right? Like, you can even bring it in the 3rd session if you've missed it, right? This is why I'm bringing it up now. That if you haven't brought up these objections, they're going to come up now, right? So we've talked about this as the main thing going on in your life, and you want to get here. How aligned would you say you and your partner are in this aspect? Right? Just fish it out. If the partner thinks like, oh, there's nothing wrong at all, then it's going to be a little bit more clear that you're not going to have the partner support in this. Right? That this is something generally we would want to ask here already in the beginning, especially if you're doing something. I'm speaking from the perspective like of being a parent coach, right? If one person thinks like, hey, I want to have, work, and you've seen it a lot as well. If they've done any other sort of programs before. And
no, I mean just like the actual cost. I feel like a lot of people, they're generally when they're homeschooling or going down that way, they already have partners generally on form with them. But just in general, it seems like people are dubious to invest in themselves, even though it's not, it's a small investment for a huge feat that they are taking on. Do you know what I mean? Like
but then you need to bring this home. This is the main thing. It's our job to bring the perspective, right? So if it's to compare to a year of university.
Yeah.
Right. This is comparative to like a semester of putting themselves in university to help their kids succeed in school for life.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think about like what a semester of university, say like in another country would cost. Right. It's less than that. For years and years of education. Right. Do you see that already? You're like, oh, okay. If you put it in that perspective, right? Like, but they haven't thought about it that way. And it's like also, or the pain aspect of it, right? Like, how long have they been struggling? And what do they think? And what will happen here? You can contrast frame. That's what this called the contrast, right? Where will they be in a year if they do this, and where will they be if they don't? Especially if it's someone like, for example, who comes back after 6 months. Like, well, hey, 6 months ago you were here, And you're in the same place, like, you know, where do you want to be 6 months from now, and how is that going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're like, oh, I'm going to go out and do it again on my own, okay,
Yeah.
what are you going to do differently? Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, that's the only definition of stupidity. We're not going to tell them that, obviously, but like doing the
Yeah.
same thing over and over
Do
again
the
and
same thing over
expecting
and over
different
again.
results, right? But
Yeah.
just the contract, right? Like either or the cost of a vacation or something they'll really resonate with. Like, how much does it cost to send your child to a Montessori school? Right? I know in the
Oh God.
Netherlands, right? But they're hard to get into. You don't have a guarantee.
It's also because you don't know how much schools cost. Schools cost a lot. Like even if it's a state school, you just don't see that money going in.
Right.
But
So exactly that. Say
when it
like,
comes out of your pocket, of course you see it and you're like, I can't afford to put them in that school.
well, but exactly this. So you're like, say, hey, compared to a Montessori school, the education and training you're going to get in this 3 months of working together is the equivalent of a year of putting one child in school. And if they have like two children at home, that makes an extra sum. So with two children at home, the value that you're getting just for like 3 months of working together is equivalent to like, you know, right? It's only 25% of what you would put into putting one child in school for the year. Right? Just to again put it as say it's like this much less. Then it becomes a no-brainer for them instead of, oh, it's this huge cost. You're like, you know, and hey, I understand. I've been a teacher and I work part-time at home and stuff like that. Like we do a deposit and payment plans are available. So it's just I really believe
Say
that
that
money's
again.
no, I said that we can work with deposits and payment plans. And,
Yeah.
you know, I believe that money shouldn't be an issue when it comes to the most valuable asset for our children in the future, and that's education. So I want to support parents as best possible to be able to make this happen. Right. So again, coming from a place of service, coming from a place of like, again, you're saying, hey, I've been there, understanding it, and offering options so that like, and that's not going to get everyone over the fence, right? Some people will still be like money, money. But again, putting that in perspective, like if it's 25% of the cost of one child in school for 1 year, and this is like they're going to get skills to last them for a year or more, then all of a sudden it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
This is also price desensitization, right? Like when you saw in my master class, I was like, the total investment I've made myself in the past few years is $47,000. And then when you hear $4,000 for the program, you're getting all the value of all my past education, all my training and everything I've invested, then it's like, oh, 4 versus 47, is it right? It takes the edge off of it. We need to be able to talk about money as business, right? So that's and then just that, like, and if you haven't hit one of the objections, right, which is the objections are, you know, time, partner, money.
Yeah.
But underneath that, do I trust you? Do I trust me? Do I trust the process? And that's where, if you identify, right, because for each one of these, and I'll see if I can find it. I think I had all the objections. We just haven't gone through them, like how you handle them all. But for example, that I don't trust the process, that's where your unique business system comes in. Right? So you're like, oh, and if you're worried about like, hey, how am I going to get this because I don't understand the process I need to go through or the steps, you're like, well, I have this unique 5-pillared system and we go through this, then this, right? Your letters that you worked out.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll take you with me by the hand through each phase in this process is going to get you all the results that you're looking for. Right. And then you've got to take, so if the objections come up again, you go back to here, right? Like connect, go back again to like, hey, what is that main challenge, right? Just circle around again, have the patience for it. But just know if there's been an objection that hasn't been handled, it will always come up here at the end again. That's why we try and get them in the beginning, because you're like, the partner's not on board, or, oh, there's already talk of like, hey, how this and this, if you can hear it in subtle things, right? When people talk about how expensive schools are, or how they don't have like time for this, or they're stressed about stuff, or they tried something and didn't work. I always pick up on those because it's like, you want to be like, you tried another program. Great. Like, seems like it didn't help you out all the way, or was it different? And get them to tell you about the programs and experiences they've had, because if they've invested in programs and they haven't worked, we need to take care of that as well, because that's trust in your process again, and trust in you, the person who's selling to them. So even like in those subtle things, so you can go back now to the calls that you've had, right? And just, you don't have to re-listen to them all, but just check your notes and be like, hey, did we handle these things that came up in the process?
Mm-hmm.
And if,
Okay.
because you want to say like, hey, what would, then there's nothing actually stopping them, right, from changing things. If they were to get this, all these potholes filled, so they would like have the smooth road in front of them, then you can ask if they don't bring up the time and money, it's like, oh, is there anything else? Is there anything else that would stop you from getting to where you want to go, from challenge to quest? All right, we can bring it up like, well, how about time? Oh yeah, I don't have that much time. Okay, well, how much time do you think it's going to take? Oh, I think actually to be a really good teacher, I need to be then like 4 hours a day. No, did you know actually you could do it in like 2 hours a day? Oh, right. So you're taking away like the time of I don't have enough time. Money, well, but you haven't asked me, right? How much money do you think it's going to take? Right? And the contrast frame there. So we want to bring
Mm-hmm.
them up because then it's also like, oh, she's talking about it. It creates a more of a trust factor as well.
Yeah. Great.
Helpful,
Helpful.
because this is exactly what we need to focus on for these next calls coming up. These are your, and don't worry, look, okay, one of the things I'm going to say to you is if you get to a point where you run out of time, right, or the person needs to think, we want to ask them, of course they can have time to think, not a problem, right? You needed time to think, I need to think like twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fine. I want to check like, hey, is there anything I could do to support in the decision making process? And then let's say, oh, I want to talk to my
Mm-hmm.
partner, or I'd like to think through it, right? Whatever it is, it's like, great, let's plan in. You always want to plan in that follow-up call.
Yeah.
Right then and there. So you're like, okay, so that makes sense. Like, say this is a Tuesday. How about we check in on Friday at the same time? How does that sound?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you put it in your agenda and they have it scheduled in. Because otherwise you get off their phone, they'll go off thinking about things, they'll talk to a partner and they get distracted. So that's one of the main tips is if you need to continue the call, schedule in the follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I was thinking.
Because then it's again, you come from care. You're like, hey, I noticed that there's some more questions. Maybe you want to marinate. Let's get back on just to kind of see where you're at again. I can answer any more questions that you have if your partner wants to be a part of this call, right? Just to see who I am in face to face. Happy to have them join.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The transparency.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I see you're in absorbing mode now.
Yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, a little excited actually. Because I was a little nervous, but a little excited.
But you have basically 3 calls. So once you've had these and you've had 2 others before that, then you can determine your conversion rate, right? Like 1 out of every 5 if they confirm to paying clients, it's a 20%. The thing is, the more calls you do, the more comfortable you're going to get and dare to ask the question, right? Where do we go from here? It's going to stump them, they're like, oh, hey, do you want to just keep going on your own, or would you like to talk about possibility of working together if they really don't know what you're going for, right? But most of the time they'll be like, well, tell me what your options are. Yeah. And don't give them a menu.
Yeah.
Give them just the option, because again, you're the expert. This is the thing that you do best. Right? I've actually just adjusted my program as well to be 6 months, especially for people who are earlier on in the business process, right? Because if you've been 2 years along in business process, it's a little different process than if you're starting out and giving form to everything. So I adjusted that based on what I'm learning about what works best for my clients.
Yeah.
Nervous excitement is a good one.
Yeah. It's good. I also came across that people wanted Fridays. They wanted to book their meetings in on Fridays, which I think is really like something I hadn't thought about. It's the end of the week. They've been with the kids all week and they're ready for thing and so it was just really good for me to kind of go, okay, this is something that might come up, that I might end up having a lot of coaching stuff on a Friday if I ever reach to that max. When I reach to that max, let's be positive, when I reach into those things, which is good because then that means already now I can think about that kind of scheduling.
Absolutely. After you've got your first 3, right? The first 3 paying clients, and you can talk about moving to group coaching, especially if you notice that a lot of them are around the same level or at, right, having the same questions.
Mm-hmm.
But just start your first 3 because your capacity will be there quicker than you think with the, depending on the hours, right? The actual
Yeah, no, I
coaching
just
time
mean
will get
like,
there. Yeah.
so I opened up my thing and it was like, okay, this one
Oh,
went in Friday there, this one in for Friday there, this one probably couldn't get those Fridays, so they popped in on a Thursday. And I was like, oh, interesting. They didn't want to do a Monday or a Wednesday or a thing. They looked for those Fridays. So
excellent.
I wonder
Hey,
if that will be something else that comes up. Mm-hmm.
I need to round off because I got to go pick up my friend's kid. My kids are getting picked up, and now I got the request. She's stuck at the airport. If I can pick up my friend's children, so it's always something. I would love to hear
Anyway,
your
yes.
key takeaway from today. I know
Mm-hmm.
that's when you struggle. It's just one, just the first thing that comes up that's sticking with you.
Sales can be fun.
Keep that in it, right? Like this is you serving.
Mm-hmm.
The sales is service. You're looking for how you can make their family life easier, their teaching life easier, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
give them so much more confidence, like that end result that they're going for. Like you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's literally
Mm.
just talking about like, hey, this is what you're struggling with. This is where you want to go. Hey, here's some gaps. Guess what? I could support with them. What do you think? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
exactly.
a no is not personal, right? Like a no can be for so many reasons, but just being able to bring up like, are you struggling with time? Is it the partner? Is it the money? Is it, you know, that's already the
Mm-hmm.
mindset of we're going to solve it in a certain way. It's not because it's not an if, it's a how.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happens if I get none?
Then you continue the conversations. It can happen, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly why when you get
Mm-hmm.
none, you will still learn and you'll still be further. Because your
Okay.
every sales call that you have, when you reflect on it and you'll say like, hey, how energized was I? How tuned in was I to the person, right? Like not focus on the sale, but focus on the person and how we can support them, right? How much
Yeah.
do we accidentally fall into the coaching role versus, hey, I'm going to stick to my structure and make sure that I get them the most value out of this, but that we're actually leading these calls somewhere, right? Remember pro bono with purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go through that reflection form, the first ones are like they can be rough, or maybe you're gonna sail through it like a pro because you've been doing calls,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know how you've got the
Yeah.
structure, you can help people. My experience is every time we learn something new, it feels awkward and funky the first couple of times, then we have to get into a flow. But through the
Mm-hmm.
process of reflecting, that's why I said just take 5 minutes after each call to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see like, how much percentage of the time I was talking.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk too much, that's a problem. Then we're coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're really in that advisor coaching role, and that we just need to listen, let them talk, because that's how we get the most information, right? So how is that balanced?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it
Good.
could just like that's the worst thing that's going to happen is that you had 3 sales calls and you learn stuff
Yeah,
on.
that's what I just wanted to kind of like go, okay, well, the
Yeah.
worst thing that could happen is that none of them did, but is that really that bad? Like, of course, yes, it's not our goal.
The
We want to
worst,
get
no,
saved.
the worst thing is that you've helped 3 people.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Right? When we think about that, like this, I get none, but it's like, hey, the worst thing is you've helped 3 people, probably be extremely grateful for all this insight and all this learning. And
Yeah.
you can still reach out and ask them for a testimonial, even if it's no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again,
Great.
it's not a hard sell. It can be, there can be a follow-up if you don't have enough time. And it can be a not right now and a later. I've had people who have been nurturing for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. And when they're
Yeah, I
ready,
just want to be prepared for that too, because I'm like, okay, I'm nervously excited, but then I don't want to hit the dump and go, oh my
but
God.
do believe in yourself, right?
I
Like
do. Yeah, I do. Actually, I've actually one that the one who I said jumped on first, like she's perfect and she seems really eager. She seems
yeah.
already really connected. She seems really grateful.
And it's really
Um,
good check as well. Make sure they're your ideal client.
yeah, yeah.
Because I've
So
literally
I'm
had to fire
excited. I'm
clients because I
excited
got
to
so
see.
excited for the sale that I was like, oh, let me sign you. And then I was like, crap, you're not actually the ideal client.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
And
great.
there's one who's not an ideal. So it's like, okay, good. Anyway, you've got to go. You've got to go.
Yeah, and but just like right in that, like say that you're so excited, you and also like thanking them for just recognize themselves for having jumped on this opportunity to have these 3 calls, to support their
Mhm.
kids and themselves more in this process, right? Like we really, again, we want to empower, we want to support them to believe they can do it, because that's that belief in self that we can't solve with showing how much of an expert we are or how great of a program we have. They have to believe they can do it as well. And oftentimes they need their coach to believe in them more than anything, right? Like the fact that I
Mhm.
believe that you can do it, like no matter what, when in those moments when you're having the doubt, you know that your coach believes in you no matter what. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
it helps us, right, to fill up that emptiness that we need before we can get into, oh, I'm starting to see the results. Okay, maybe I can do it, right? And we get to that point
Yeah,
ourselves.
Mhm.
So no, they need someone to give them that pep talk too. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Reach out
Okay.
if you
Thank
need
you.
anything in between, and your next call's already scheduled in.
Oh,
I know, I
good, good.
saw the eye roll. I saw the eye roll. And let me know how they go, right? Just, you
Okay.
know what? That's going to be your
I will.
task. Fill out your reflection forms and just send me like, I would just want to know a one-liner.
Okay.
And if you want to share your sales reflection forms with me, please do. Because that
Okay.
way I can also give feedback on that. Maybe after, you know what, do that after your first one.
Okay.
And I'm hoping you won't have them on the same day.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm just going to write that down so that I can give you feedback and you can process it yourself. That will give you the external pressure, right? This is the accountability from me. I'm going to even just put it in here. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, good. Good. Okay.
Yeah, that's it's really important, like especially these first ones when we don't, like we're fumbling around in the dark. We're trying to figure out what the trends are. What are our clients' biggest objections? How can we help them the most? Where are things going well and not well? And then maybe you're totally relaxed and having fun, but you're not closing the deal, right? So those forms are just going to help us level up.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
You got this. When's your
Good. Yeah.
when's your first one?
Friday.
Friday. All right, send it to me. I'll look at it on the
Mhm.
weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Take care. Have a
Have a
nice
good week.
afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.